Hello and good evening one and all. This is Chequered Flag Simsports here with another race for the Downunder V8 Supercar Series. This round is kicking off for round 6. Had a few technical issues last time out unfortunately, but those have now been resolved for us and we are looking at a wonderful, brilliant race here at the new circuit of Hill and Valley Raceway. Sorry, lump in my throat there. But we are ready to get underway, so we're back live with another 2 races for you this evening and ready to get the action underway. It's myself in the commentary box today, Matt Sanson. David Buckley can't be with us this time round unfortunately, but he is also going to be joining us for the next time round, hopefully, to kick off the action once again. But yeah, fabulous time to be racing. We're just joining the qualifying session now on circuit, and we had a brilliant last round at Winton Raceway with Craig Broadbent taking home 2 of his first ever victories in the this season, and of course coming out of Melbourne as well, where we had 3 different winners in those 3 races. So potentially going to see a lot of different action taking place here. Hopefully we'll see loads of different winners too. But let's head down to the racetrack then if we can and see who is doing what. Of course, early stage in the qualifying, so don't expect any super times. Talking about the circuit as well, Hidden Valley Raceway, it's another one of those really short circuits, only coming in at 1.7 miles in total, so we're expecting to see a lot of very quick times indeed. Typically, in terms of real life, we're looking at 1 minute 2s roughly, so expecting to see similar kind of pace here from the guys this afternoon. And fingers crossed they can all get up to pace and have some really quick racing around here, but I'm sure we'll have to wait and see for that. Of course, Wayne Walker, who's on screen at the moment, is our championship leader. He is got a fairly comfortable lead in terms of the points, just touching on those quickly before we head into this evening's race. So he's sitting on 1271 points, 1271 points, and that is just enough to stay ahead of Clean Skin Racing and Daniel Opetizano in 2nd place. He's sitting on 1104, and then we have Craig Broadbent. Those point hauls from the last race really did catapult him up the order. He was previously sitting in 9th and now he finds himself in 3rd, 300 points. That is a really nice point haul from the last round at Winton. Then it's Mark Young in Peanut Racing with 797 points, and then we have Kresna Putra in the Java Sim Esports car with 790 points. Those are your top 5 in the championship as things stand. And let's see if anyone can make things better for themselves this afternoon. So a few times coming onto the board now. So Wayne Walker is on pole position for the time being. So 101.6 is the qualifying time. So already we're breaking records in terms of the real life pace here. And the temperature for today will be clear and no sign of rain coming in over the next 2 hours to Hidden Valley, which of course is northern Australia. So fingers crossed we can see a lot of racing action here. So Wayne Walker now setting up for his first flying, or second flying lap, should we say. And beautiful thing about Hidden Valley Raceway is you've got this long straight. They actually do quite a bit of drag racing here. They've got a 1 mile strip on the other side of the Armco barrier there on the left hand side, and that's going to provide these guys a lot of overtaking opportunities, provided they're in the slipstream, of course. Coming down this massive long start finish line into turn 1, there's going to be a good overtaking opportunity. A lot of heavy braking as they come into the 180 turn. And it's all about handling the mid-sector. This is pretty much one car only as they come through sector 1, turns 2, 3 and 4. And a bit of a sideways moment there for Walker as he comes around the corner. And there's another hairpin up as we go into sector 2. Continues once again, pulls over to the right hand side, full throttle. We'll go on board with one of the guys in a short while once the times start to come in. But it's a very technical circuit. It's all about maintaining that high speed as you go through all of these technical corners, and it's going to be quite tricky for drivers to pick those moments to overtake. I think a lot of the overtaking we're going to see this evening is going to be on the start finish, potentially up into turn 6, which is at the end of sector 1 joining sector 2. Other than that, I'm expecting a lot of the overtaking to be done elsewhere. But that's still plenty of opportunities in such a short racing circuit, so hopefully we'll see plenty of action, which I'm sure we will. Of course, the V8s, a lot of horsepower under the bonnets of these things, especially the Mustangs. They've got a few more ponies over the Holdens, if I'm not mistaken, so potentially we could see them taking advantage this evening. And Stephen White is with us once again, so he missed out on the previous round at Winton Raceway. He wasn't there, but it looks like he's present now once again for this particular round. Had a great race in Melbourne as he took away the last victory of that 3-round race. And he's currently sitting in second place at the moment with a 1 minute 1.8, so looking quite comfortable for this evening. And of course the championship competitor Daniel is right behind as well in third. He's on a 1:01.8 as well, just 0.037 seconds off pole position, which is off the next position. So now a third of the way through qualifying at the moment, 8 minutes still to go. So this is the part of the qualifying, the track will start to rubber in as all the cars are making their way around. And fingers crossed we'll start to see teams go out once again to really hammer those times home. So Wayne Walker's still on pole position. He's just extended that with the best lap time of 1 minute 1.6. Someone's just gone off and taken out one of the sponsorship signs. I'm not too sure who that was. They probably escaped to pit lane before they came on camera. Daniel locking up slightly into turn 6 on this flying lap, so not a great first sector. He's actually about 2.2 seconds off, and yeah, he's completely abandoned this particular lap. Doesn't go to plan. Stephen White coming through turns 3 and 4 at the moment, coming up into turn 6, the hairpin. Bit of a wiggle there as he exits turn 5. And let's see what the sector time says. It's at 21.618, slightly off the pace from Wayne Walker, but it is slightly better. Not a personal best. But let's see if he can bring it together for sector 2 as he comes through the next few corners. Very technical here, of course. See the Holden dancing slightly on the grey stuff as it comes back down into order for the final corner. Coming through the last few technical parts of the circuit before hammering it down the start-finish straight. Is it going to be an improvement here for Stephen White? Yes, it is. He really brought it home in that final sector. That's an amazing time, 1:01.5. That is just a few hundredths off Wayne Walker, who himself improves on his personal flying lap. So both of them fighting now for the front row of this race, it seems. So Wayne Walker now coming out of pit lane. We'll ride on board to see what it's like to go around Hidden Valley Raceway as he goes into the next few corners. And of course, it's important for him to warm up these tyres now. He's got a few minutes to do so. 6 minutes still remaining, so still plenty of time for him to bring a lap together, that's for sure. He does have some traffic behind him as well. I think that's the Monster Mustang. Yes, it is. I think that might be John Slow, if I'm not mistaken. But here we go into the last few corners. We'll go on board now, and we'll get a good view of Hidden Valley Raceway. So coming down the start-finish straight again, this is a great opportunity for overtaking, slipstreaming. You'll gain plenty of time once you're behind one of these solid V8s. But keeping on the right-hand side, ready for that huge braking commitment. 100-meter board is your braking reference, and you're kind of trail braking down towards the apex. It's a very wide, long first corner. Back up to speed over to the right hand side and go mid-circuit as the track then goes over to the right hand side, but stay mid-circuit for the kink to the left. That's turn 3s and 4, and then slow things right down for turn 5. Back up to speed for turn 6, where you find yourself in another hairpin. Similar story to turn 1. You want to trail brake as much as possible, carry that momentum till you reach the apex, and then back over to the left hand side. Here comes the fast technical stuff then, so you're feathering the throttle in these monstrous V8s, trying to maintain that balance between too much power and making sure the tyres grip as much as possible. Bit of riding of the curb there, and then it's very technical left right kinks all the way through down to the last corner, and then back up to speed as we join the start finish straight here. Across the start finishing line, here we come. Is it going to be an improvement? He did improve in sector 2. It's 19.3 for Wayne Walker, and it is once again pole position for the championship defender. 101.450. He's got to be happy with that. Now Stephen White is still out on circuit as well himself, so we may see a comeback here from the Holden. Ooh, very sideways moment into the final corner, and that's not going to do his tyres any good, unfortunately. That's going to cost him a lot of time coming over the start finishing line. Yes, it's a poor lap, 101.676. Still very competitive, mind you. That would have been enough for second place where he currently sits, but not enough to demote Wayne Walker there. Daniel's still comfortable in third as well with a 101.8. Needs to find an extra 0.3 or just shy of 0.4 seconds in order to find himself on pole position. And Craig Broadbent, of course, winner last time round, is sitting in P4 himself. He's on a 1:019. Still very quick times, but that's at least 0.5 seconds off our pole position. Daniel going for a flying lap here, it seems, as he warms up the tyres coming into the final corner. And now catapulting his way down to turn 1. Let's go on board with Daniel for a quick moment for Clean Skin Racing. He's had an up and down season so far. He started very strong, 2 victories in the second round in Tasmania. That was a brilliant round. If you haven't seen that, you can always go to our YouTube channel and have a look at the previous broadcasts. Yeah, in terms of the next round though, he didn't get any points, wasn't in attendance unfortunately. That's really made him struggle in terms of the points. Perth Raceway, it was a good few podiums, but still, once again, not wins. Wayne Walker's been able to be the one that's claiming a lot of wins this season. In fact, he's had, I believe, 6 victories in the round so far. Of course, there are 2 races in each round, some of them 3, but that is where the table currently stands. Bit of a seizure from the tyre there. You can hear it screeching as it came down into the final corner. Coming into the start finishing line, he did improve on his sector 2. Personal best there for Daniel as he comes across the start finishing line. It is a better time for the Holden driver, but it's still not good enough to improve his position. 1:01.677. That is just 0.1 second off Stephen White, who's once again out on circuit trying to improve his lap times. But he will remain in third, Daniel that is, for the time being. Just moving outside these top 4 then, we've got Alex Kidas in the 82. He's doing extremely well in his blue Mustang with 1:02, the first of which we've seen, but enough to beat the rest. Mark Young close behind, Brett Gooden in P7, Hayden Darragh in P8, and then Billy Ebenhauser in P9. Steve Dunn is rounding out the top 10 for the time being, that lap time being at 1:02.6. So it just gives you an idea of what we're looking at pace-wise up and down the order for the time being. Oh, big moment there for the Mustang. A bit too much right foot. Sent the rear round completely and retiring back to the grid. We've got just 42 seconds left now. Stephen White coming across the start finishing line. No green sectors this time by. Yep, no improvements there. Stays in second place for now. And the time to beat is 1:01:37, set by Wayne Walker. Daniel's trying for another attempt. Starting his flying lap now. He's going to be able to get across the start finishing line in time. Coming through the first sector then, all looks quite tidy. It's a 21.74 sector 1 coming through that timing grid now, so it is slightly slower already than the pole sitting man Wayne Walker, and that's still slightly slower than Stephen White as well. So it all comes down to these final two sectors. There's only a few cars. Alex Daly and Matt Ogg are still out on circuit, but other than that, this is the final car out on the grid. Everyone else has completed their qualifying session for this evening. 1:19.6 and 8. He's abandoned it. He's abandoned it completely. So, yeah, Daniel not happy with that final lap. That sector probably thought it's a waste of time. Matt Ogg is still out on circuit in his very bright Mustang. He's currently sitting in P14 at the moment. So this is his last opportunity to get in. He seems to be going quite slow though, so I'm not too sure if he's coming back into pit lane. He's upshifting quite early. Yeah, and he's decided to leave that as it is. So there you are, ladies and gents. That is the qualifying session for you. Let's have a quick run through the starting order if we can. Get that up for you. So Wayne Walker taking pole position once again, followed by Stephen White and Daniel Opposiziano, and then Craig Broadbent with the Racetech Still Racing Mustang. P5 belongs to Alex Kiedis, best of the rest, followed by Mark Young and Brett Gooden. Hayden Darragh sitting tidy in P8 himself. Running out the final two top 10, Billy Ebenhauser for the Java Sim car, Steve Dunn, and then Paul Robinson in P11, John Slow for Happily Average Racing in P12. Alex Daly occupies 13th, Matt Ogg in 14th, Gigi Izan in 15th, and then Craig Stoddard in 16th for you. And that rounds out the grid for this evening. Fairly small one. We used to have around 20 cars, but I think because of the technical issues that we faced last week, that may have affected the numbers, but still close times between all of the guys here, and no doubt we're going to get plenty of racing action for you. Don't worry about that. Especially at the top of the grid, we've always seen so far this season Wayne Walker, Stephen White, Daniel, Craig, all those names going tooth and nail for this kind of stuff. So let's see what they can do. So what we're doing now, ladies and gents, is we're just in the warm-up session. 5 minutes for the drivers to practice their starts, practice their strategy. Of course, they will need to stop for fuel and tyres in this series. There are two 20-minute races that they have to navigate in order to come home to the checkered flag. And of course, 150 points per race. If you come home victorious, that's a lot of haulage in terms of the championship. And we're getting to the stage now where we are getting into the second half. This is one of I think maybe 5 or 6 rounds left, going all the way through to October, November time. So these races really are starting to become important. They were always important, but of course now with less and less opportunities available to the teams, they are really going to have to start winning these points for the final standings. Here on the background there, some of the teams starting to practice their starts, and of course Hidden Valley Raceway, we've got that racing line down the right hand side. In fact, when we go trackside, you will be able to see the rubber that's been laid down by the drivers as they've been qualifying and practicing all weekend. So whoever's going to be starting on that racing line will probably have the advantage on today's start finish, and then it's all about maintaining that high speed and keeping them behind. Fingers crossed we'll have that slipstream effect, as already mentioned, coming down the start finish straight, and that will give us plenty of racing to be seen. And then it'll all be down to pit entry, how quickly, how fast they commit to that, and then how quickly they can get back out onto the circuit without any issues at all. As we're waiting for the teams and drivers to move over to the next session, if you feel free to give the stream a like if you wish, helps the championship in question get the exposure that it needs and find new participants and drivers. I believe there are still a few spaces for the second Supercar Championship. The first one is completely full as far as I'm aware, but there is a second series for new members, which is just as competitive, I'm told. So if you are interested, all the links are in the description for the series. Feel free to have a gander and have a look at those. They'll take you to all of the places you need to look in order to join this championship. And we're only a few moments away. There's only 30 seconds left in this, so we are about to go racing, ladies and gents. So let's just remind those that are just joining of the current standings. So starting on pole position will be Wayne Walker for Walker Racing. He's the defending champion, followed closely by Stephen White, Daniel Opziano for Clean Skin Racing, and then Craig Broadbent in 4th. P5 is Alex Kidas, followed by Mark Young and Peanut Racing. Brett Gooden rounds out P7, and then Hayden Dara in 8th. In 9th place we have Billy Ebenhauser, Java Sim Esports in 9th, and then rounding out the top 10 is Steve Dunn. Paul Robinson finds himself in 11th, and then John Slow in P12. Alex Daly is 13th, Matt Ogg is 14th, Iggy Izan for Java Sim Esports, and then Craig Stoddard. So that is your lineup for this evening, ladies and gents. So we are now ready to go racing. The session has officially changed over to the first 40-minute round for this evening, and we're waiting for the casting out grid before we go to the green. We are now getting ready, the countdown begin, and we are off. It's a very slow start there from Wayne Walker. Stephen White is right on the charge into the first corner, and he's got a penalty, so it's a jump start from there from Stephen White, confirmed by race control, and already that's a bad start for him. He's going to have to go into pit lane to serve his penalty. Wayne Walker now into second place, able to hold off Craig Broadbent, who himself is into third. So that means Daniel Apostano lost out at the start. Mark Young is P5, so that's an advantage for him. In fact, Alex Kidas is back down into P10, so starting in P4 on the grid. He's lost out on a ton of positions. Battling along in the background, Hayden Dara going wheel to wheel with Steve Dunn. John Slow also in the mix. Brett Gooden trying to find his way through the traffic. He went onto the grass momentarily before finding the grey stuff again, but once again looks like a clean start. Alex Kida's having a massive problem, so he's gone all the way down into P15 now. So that is not the best start there for the Mustang driver. I'm sure he was hoping for a different race there from his best result so far in qualifying. But back to the front then, Stephen White still staying out. He's actually coming into pit lane now as he serves his penalty. So an unfortunate way to start this evening's events there. But Craig Broadbent now inherits second place. Wayne Walker back into the lead. Oppositano in third. Looks like a small gap between the two of them. 0.7 seconds coming down into the first corner. Mark Young up into fourth as they all start to inherit. Where does Stephen White rejoin the race? All the way back down in P14. He's still in pit lane now, in fact. Rejoins just now. Matt Ogg and Alex Kidas the only ones to come up behind, so Matt Ogg also having a horrible start to this evening's event. Back to the front with Craig Broadbent as he comes through sector 1, or sector 2, my apologies, and chasing down Wayne Walker. The gap is up to 0.6 seconds at the moment. Of course, at this early stage, 38 minutes still to go, you're going to be talking about maintaining that pace, looking after the tyres and ensuring that you're not doing any big mistakes. So we have a nice train here of 4 cars. Mark Young back onto the end of Opposano in the number 4. And they're kind of starting to pull away just ever so slightly from Hayden Darragh and Steve Dunn, which is the next train of vehicles. Brett Gooden in the thick of it, going sideways, touching Alex Kidas. Alex Kidas, I think that would be a blue flag situation. Yes, it is. So he's actually a lap down already, unfortunately, and he's still racing these guys. That's not good. So that was a blue flag situation that should have been yielded there by Alex Kidas. You got the Java Sim eSports car into the barrier as well. I think that might be... no, Billy Eberhauser is okay, so it'll be his teammate, unfortunately, that got caught up in that. That is really not good there. So that'll be something for race control to investigate post-race, it seems. Not too sure what was going through Alex's head, unfortunately. I mean, that would have been a chance to yield the position. Unfortunately, you're a lap down, you have to get out of the way as best you can. But for some reason that went horribly wrong. Alex Daly in P9 going to battle Billy Ebenhauser at the moment in the Java Sims car as they enter turn 1 now. Wayne Walker up the front as well, starting to pull away ever so slightly. And it looks like Billy may be the stronger car at this moment in time as he comes through the next few corners. Very sideways moment there. Just manages to keep it in check as we navigate our way down into the final corner once more. Good opportunity here coming up. He could be able to slipstream his way past Alex Daly. He's certainly within attack distance, 0.3 seconds as they come across the start finishing line now. Looks like Alex got a really good exit out of the final corner though, not able to close that gap down. He is as we approach the first corner, but just too late to do so. So Alex Daly really able to defend that position as he hammers the final corner. Bit of a moment onto the grass there. We've got another battle on our hands up front. So this is Mark Young overtaking Opposano. So that is a change for position. The Peanut Racing Holden now onto the podium positions. So maybe a small mistake there from Daniel as the gap has widened now to at least 3 seconds between himself and Craig Broadbent, who's still trying to give chase to our leader. Across the start finishing line now, Mark Young has an advantage of 0.7 seconds. Question is if there's any damage to Daniel's car. We didn't see the overtake happen. So I don't know if there was a small mistake from Daniel or if there was contact made, but he seems to be slightly faster at this stage. Of course, still early days, 34 minutes still remaining. Mark Young up by 3 positions, so it's a really strong start to this evening from him. And you can see Stephen White at the bottom of the timing table there in 13th place, starting to slowly move back up the order. He's 11 places down, of course, starting on the front row alongside Wayne. And this gap is starting to come down between Mark Young and Daniel Pizzano, down to 0.4 seconds now as we enter the next corner, or the next lap. Coming through sector 1. And the hairpin at turn 6. Back up front, Wayne Walker's still leading, 2.8 seconds. Seems that he's starting to extend that lead over Craig Broadbent at the moment. And we do have some battles taking place down the order. John Slow and Brett Gooden within striking distance of one another at 0.3 seconds. So we'll keep an eye on those as best as we can as they unfold. And of course we still have this great fight between Mark and Daniel here. 0.2 seconds, so Daniel could be about to make the move this time by. He's certainly closer than last time across the start finishing line. That long start finish line able to provide him the acceleration he needs. Gets the move done down the inside quite easily. I thought maybe for a second he was going to overshoot the corner, but nice move there from the number 4 and moves back up into that podium position. Mark Young still following. Daniel now will want to pull away and try to regain that ground on Craig Broadbent, potentially obtaining that slipstream. Let's move back to John Slow and Brett Gooden now. The Mustang and the Holden fighting it out for P7 at the moment. John Slow in the lead in the Mustang. It's always good to see a Monster Energy Mustang somewhere along the lines, isn't it? Monster Energy sponsorship looks brilliant on whatever you put it on, but particularly a Mustang in question. Oh, big moment there for one of the Jarvis esports cars. I think that might have been Billy. Yes, it was. So Billy Ebenhauser having a huge moment coming out of the the last corner. All seems to be back under control. Doesn't seem to be any damage. That would have been a very uncomfortable moment there inside the cockpit of that Holden. And John Slow and Brett Gooden still at it. Still 0.3 seconds between these two. You've got another battle between... Oh, Alex Daly having a problem, it seems. He's gone down by 1 position. Paul Robinson going through. Got Gigi Izan giving chase in the second of the Java Sim esports car. That was the one that got collected earlier on in the race involving that blue flag car, so he seems to be trying to make the most of his recovery as best as possible. He is still a lap down, unfortunately, so this is going to be to unlap himself from this car. Oh, another moment there for Gigi Izan. That's the second time in 2 laps that that's happened to one of the Java Sim esports cars. And we are now firmly 10 minutes into this particular race. Go back to the fight between Brett Gooden and John Slow. He has actually overtaken him. I do apologise, we've missed that overtake completely while focusing on the Java Sims car. But Brett Gooden now up into 7th place. Not any changes. Seems Brett Gooden starting to slowly pull away from John Slow at the moment. And a very strange line into the final corner there by Brett Gooden. That's opened the door for John now. He's actually right on the tail end of the 88 coming down to the final corner. 0.2 seconds coming across the start finishing line, but he wasn't able to get the throttle down quick enough, it seems. And in the background there you can see Billy Ebenhauser starting to close in this gap, so it's soon going to be a three-way fight between these cars, all for 7th place. Brett Gooden leading the three of them. And on board with Billy at the moment. Oh, he's actually had a massive moment there. Coming into turn 6, able to wrestle it back under control. On board now so we can see what he's doing inside the cockpit of that particular car. Last lap time was a 1:04.3, so he is actually going faster, much faster in fact, than the two cars ahead. 1 second advantage over John Slow, which is the next car ahead. Here the car just trying to put down the power. These V8s, they weigh quite a bit, and also a lot of power going to the rear axle, which is pretty much the only place it's sent to, so we're at rear wheel drive of course. And slowing things down once again for turn 1 here. So Billy is starting to close this gap down to 1 second now, so it is slowly surely becoming a three-way fight. John Slow in the meantime still 0.8 seconds behind Brett Gooden, so he is starting to lose ground slowly but surely as well. So Billy needs to essentially overtake John in order to maintain that slipstream from Brett Gooden himself. Moving back up the order slightly, let's have a quick look at where Daniel is sitting. He's currently trying to extend the gap between himself and Mark Young. That's up to 1.8 seconds now, so Mark Young slowly but surely starting to fall away from the fight for the podiums, and Craig Broadbent is the next target ahead. They're both on the same lap times in terms of their best performance. However, last lap Craig was 0.2 seconds faster than Daniel, so it looks like he's starting to apply a bit of pressure before we enter the first round of pit stops for the evening. Here comes a fight for P10 now. So Stephen White slowly but surely fighting his way back up the order after that penalty for jump starting this race. Finds himself behind Craig Stoddard at the moment. Lap time is 1:03.7, so he's trying to set himself up now coming into the final sector. That Mustang attacking the curves quite aggressively, unsettled it slightly, but here comes Stephen White now. Gets a really good exit out the final corner in his white Holden. Slipstream in effect as he peeks down onto the inside line, looking to outbrake the Mustang coming into turn 1. Already alongside with the excess speed, and he's made the move stick already. Wiggling slightly as the Holden protests as we scrub off all the speed for turn 1, but a nice overtake. A lot of pretty much what we've seen so far here this evening, but classic move. Now for Stephen White to get back into the race, he's going to have to find an extra 7 seconds till he finds Billy Ebenhauser, who himself finds himself behind John Slow now. He's 0.3 seconds behind, so very pacey indeed. Last lap was 1:04.6. That's 0.2 seconds faster than John ahead. So that slipstream now fully in effect as we come down once more onto the start finishing line. Brett Gooden going high in defence, trying to deny John Slow that slipstream. He didn't follow him, he stayed low on the racing line, so that's going to allow Billy to close up just ever so slightly more. He peeps down the inside though, looking for an opportunity, decides better of it as the gap wasn't quite there just yet. 0.5 seconds between these two as they come onto the next flying lap. Wayne Walker slowly gaining that advantage, extending it to 6.8 seconds now. So Broadbent starting to struggle as we enter the end of the first phase of this race. We've still got 23 minutes left and we're expecting them to come into the pits in a few moments time. About maybe in the next 5 minutes we'll see everyone dive into the pits. Billy having a small moment there into the final corner. That's not going to help his chances in overtaking the two cars ahead. And in the background there you saw Stephen White. He is on a charge of his own. He's definitely gaining ground on the cars ahead. Last lap coming across the start finishing line was a 1:03. Everyone ahead of him is on a 1:04. So that is certainly a difference in pace, and he will be on the back end of them very shortly if nothing is done. John Slow has had a moment going into turn one, so he's gone off circuit. Craig Stoddard's gone through at the same time. Paul Robinson in the background there trying to see if he can gain some ground and momentum in the process, but that has allowed Stephen White now into P9. Billy Ebenhauser is now P8. That and Brett Gooden, that gap in between is where that Mustang used to occupy, is now vacant. Very close to the Armco barrier and the pit wall as they come across the start finishing line. Gap between these two is at 0.9 seconds at the moment. Both had a pretty good race so far. Both pretty much staying exactly where they were from the start. Billy up by one position. Brett Gooden pretty much staying exactly where he was at the start of the green race, or green flag drop, sorry, should I say. Wayne Walker still in the lead of the race. 1:037 was the last lap. He also has the fastest lap of the race. Craig Broadbent trying his best to keep that momentum going. Last lap was a 1:044, so a pretty bad lap, although we've mostly seen 1:03s from Craig as well. Daniel Optiziano also on a very similar pace, 1:045. So that may be all they've got until at least they get new rubber on these cars. And first pits coming in now. So Matt Ogg has retired, unfortunately, so he's going to be the first of this evening's casualties. Wayne Walker into pit lane, as is Craig Broadbent. The leader's coming into pit lane now. Potential battle here for Billy as he goes into pit lane himself, so decides that he's going to come in. Stephen White also, so very busy pit lane here at the moment. Everyone coming into the pit lane at the same time. Wayne Walker also stationary for the time being as he gets back underway now. Billy also cutting in front just as he services his Holden. And almost had a small moment there. Craig Broadbent still stationary behind that purple Mustang, waiting to get back underway, probably begging to be released already. There he goes. Craig Broadbent back underway in second place. Daniel Optisano still out on circuit. Typically he goes quite potentially further into the race than most people, so maybe he's doing that same tactic, trying to save, but he comes in now himself. So only an extra lap this time at Hidden Valley compared to other race circuits before deciding to commit. Potential battle here between Alex Daly and Gigi Izan in the Java Sims esports car. Gigi Izan not having the best of starts to this particular race after having that contact early on. And Gigi Izan says he's made his own cockpit for racing. So DIY. I'm sure there's plenty of sim racers out there that have done the same. Just laid their hands on a lot of equipment such as wood and other metal frames and pretty much assembled their own system. He's enjoying the racing here this evening. Back to the racing. Here comes Mark Young on Daniel Opposano after the pit stops to serve. So he's just rejoined the circuit now, back into third place. Mark Young nearly saw his way down the inside coming into turn one, having served one lap earlier, and now finds himself in contention for that position in the meantime. And almost simultaneously, Billy is now in 8th after overtaking Brett Gooden after the round of pit stops. We've had a slight shuffle here. Stephen White up into P7, so he's overtaken both Billy and Brett Gooden without even having to fight for the actual spot. He's done it all in the pit lane and allowed that to do the talking for him, and he's completely undercut both those drivers. Hayden Darwin now finds himself in P5. That's a very strong result for the 53 driver there. And we still have this battle between these two, Billy and Brett Gooden. This time the opposite way around though, of course. So it will be Brett Gooden trying to charge and give chase. And the gap up to 1 second now, so he's starting to pull away for Java Sim here. Brett Gooden and the 88 Holden do his best to maintain that slipstream as they come on to the start-finish line. That gap is slowly starting to come down, 0.7 seconds as they come to the end of into turn one. So it just shows how much time they gain in the slipstream with the car ahead. It's 0.3 seconds already. Coming down through the final sector now into the final corner once again, this time slightly closer this time by. Can he once again close that gap down? He has indeed. It's 0.4 seconds now there by Brett Gooden. Last lap times coming across the line. It's 1:03.3 for Billy. Brett Gooden set his personal best, 1:03 dead. So extremely fast pace now coming from the blue Holden behind, fighting for P7 in the process. the splitter camera for Brett Gooden now as he gives chase to Billy. Coming through sector 3, very fast paced set of corners here. Pretty much one car only, unfortunately, not much overtaking done here. At risk of being sent off into the barriers. And into the final corner. Slightly better entry into the final corner there by Brett Gooden. Billy slightly turning in twice for the corner, back up to 0.5 seconds gap, and it's coming down already, that slipstream, although Brett's not following Billy onto the upper side of the circuit, so obviously not too concerned about the lack of slipstream there. Very strong under the brakes though is the 88. And that seems to be where he's gaining most of the time. The slipstream down the start-finish straight and then under braking seems to be the two main points where that blue Holden seems to gain some ground. And the 55 doing everything it can to protect this position now. We are getting into the second half of the race, 12 minutes still to go. And let's just have a look at the standings up front. So pit time windows were pretty much, Broadbent would have made up a slight margin of time, but both of those cars very quick indeed. Stephen White risking it with 22 seconds in the pit lane as opposed to everyone else, and also Stollard only 19.1 seconds himself. So very quick pit times from those two in particular. But it seems that 26 seconds seems to be what the leaders are doing. Brett Gooden going very sideways as he tries to avoid the back end of the Java Sim car. So looked for an opportunity down the inside. That was immediately secured by the 55, blocked off, and just in order to avoid the back end of that car, goes to the right and goes onto the gravel slightly. But that's obviously hit the reset button in terms of the gap is concerned. And he now has to do all of that hard work again. So that is unfortunate. Our leader Wayne Walker still firmly in charge of this race. The gap is 6.5 seconds. So it has come down slightly post pit stop, and then we are now starting to see a slight bit of traffic become a factor for our leaders here. That is one of the Holdens in the way. I think that's the 92, the 192 Alex Daly. But gets out of the way, no issues whatsoever. Blue flags being waved and obeyed. That's what we like to see. But he now needs to set 103s in order to extend the gap on Craig Broadbent once again. Craig in the background there, just coming on to the start-finish line. He too now has to navigate the traffic in order to find himself on the back end of our leader. Now Wayne will be looking for a victory this time round. It's been some time since he's had a win. Was back at Perth, he dominated that round, took 3 out of 3 races, as it was a super sprint that particular round. But at Winton he didn't take home anything, and then he had a DNF in the second round, had a few disconnection problems, which basically he was leading that race as well at Winton at the time before being disconnected, so he won't be happy about that. He'll be looking to regain control of this championship, and Craig sitting in third was certainly a threat after taking home 2 victories that particular round. Down in third is Optizano. He's also just a few seconds behind 0.4, so we've got about 10 seconds separating first to third this time by. And Optizano now claiming the fastest lap of the race with a 1:02.3. Those new tyres certainly being used by the top cars and being put to the test and pushing these V8s to their limits. Last lap times for you, Craig Broadbent was a 1:03.7. Wayne Walker and Daniel Optizano both doing 1:03.5s. So just gives you an idea of how quickly these guys are travelling. Very comparable times going on the board, and any mistakes are crucial now as we enter the final 10 minutes. 8.5 to go before we get to the first checkered flag for this evening. And a lot of traffic to navigate. You can see Wayne Walker, he was just coming into turn 1 trying to get past the 37. That's Gigi Izan. He's currently down in 14th place. Someone's gone very wide. Is that Gigi Izan? Yes, it is. So he tried to maybe potentially make way, and that's another stationary car. We've got 2 stationary cars. That's a very scary moment for the drivers. Both leading cars get through, so both Craig Broadbent and Optisano. That didn't ruin their day, luckily, and they make it through in one piece. Luckily, no contact between any of the drivers coming into turn 1, considering how many of them there were. I think that's all now been resolved. Craig Broadbent, in the meantime, I don't think he actually lifted through that entire situation. And see what the lap time says as he comes through. Still got to navigate his way around Alex Gidas, who's had a very bad day indeed so far in the 82 Mustang. Goes very tall on the racing line and just makes way for Craig to go through. And tucks himself back behind Craig Broadbent, coming down to turn 1. Last lap's 104.2, 104.6. Wayne Walker slightly slower that time by as he comes across the start finish. Daniel Optisano closing the gap on Craig Broadbent himself. That's down to 3.3 seconds now. And obviously the blue Mustang occupying the space between. A bit more traffic up ahead for Craig Broadbent still. On board for a few moments as he navigates his way around Hidden Valley Raceway, and I believe it may be, is that Matt Ogg back underway in the very green Mustang? I believe it is. Coming into the final corner, not too sure what the Holden is behind though, but that's 2 cars to navigate before getting onto the back end of Wayne Walker, and of course that gap is up to 7 seconds once again. So Wayne Walker now really starting to up the ante. He's past the traffic now, and he's decided to push that car once again. 1:03 is the time to beat in terms of race pace. Daniel Optisano 1:03.9, and Craig Broadbent their last time by 1:04.2. So it looks like Wayne, if Craig can't find the pace, it looks like Wayne will be taking another victory here in the V8 Supercar Championship. And for those of you that don't know, the next round will be at these same starting positions. Still 1:04s coming out of Craig on that last time by. It was slightly faster, but not by much, but it's pretty marginal. So it looks like Wayne Walker still extending that lead, 8.4 seconds now from our race leader. In terms of battles, we have one potential battle coming up for P4. That's Mark Young, Hayden Dara in the mix. That gap is 1.5 seconds. We may see that come down in the final few minutes as we get to the checkered flag. Billy Ebenhauser and Brett Gooden, still 0.2 seconds between those both, so we may see a battle between those as well. That's for P7, so we'll keep an eye on these two as they make their way around circuit. Hayden Dara pretty much maintaining that pace. He seems slightly faster on the last lap by 0.3 seconds. It's a lot of time to make up in a short distance. So we should see at least another 3 to 4 laps here before getting to the first checkered flag for the evening. And whether or not Hayden can make that work, we'll have to wait and see as he comes across the start finishing line. Stephen White doing his best to get past traffic. In the background there, that's one of the blue Holdens. That's the 192 Alex Daly. just making his intentions known. Tried to go high onto the race circuit to let Stephen by, but he wanted that slipstream coming down into the next set. He has to find an extra 2 seconds before he finds himself on the back end. Or another issue for Alex Kidas in the background there, coming into the first corner, went slightly sideways. No one else collected though, nice clear track for him to use. And yeah, Mark Young, Hayden Dara, and then Stephen White. That gap coming down quite quickly, 1037 by Stephen White. So certainly has the pace to catch these guys. 3 minutes remaining, whether or not that's enough time, let's wait and see. Stephen White won at Melbourne 2 rounds ago, so he's definitely got some race pace there. He will be kicking himself for that mistake at the start of this particular round as well. And his approach to this season is a fairly relaxed approach. Apparently he took it very seriously in the last years or so when Wayne Walker was defending champion still. He's won it a few times now in a row. But Stephen White took it very seriously, but this time he's taken a more laid-back approach. In terms of the points, though, he's still very respectable. 6th place after missing 2 rounds at Winton and Sydney, so that's the opening round. So, despite having missed 2 races or 2 evenings, that's potentially 600 points there that he's not had a chance to go at. And even still sitting in P6, so very respectable in terms of what he can achieve when he does attend these races. Last few moments now, 1 minute 37 still to go as we come across the start finishing line. Gap down to 1.6 seconds, so that last lap there from Stephen White was a 1038, so not perfect for him. Hayden Darrow 104 dead pretty much, and Mark Young 1042. So these 3 are slowly but surely coming together. I just believe we're going to run out of time before they go wheel to wheel, unfortunately, which is a shame because we do love to see some wheel to wheel racing here at CFS. Where is Wayne Walker at the moment? He's just coming across the start finishing line now, so this will be the last lap, ladies and gents, as we go sub 1 minute. And of course lap times coming in at 1:03 at the moment, so this will be the last lap. Oh, it's a bit of a sideways skid there from Wayne Walker as he comes through the first corner. That's probably raised his heart rate ever so slightly. And Wayne Walker will be happy with this, provided it all goes well for the next few moments. He's done everything he needs to do in order to win this race. He's been in control from the start, and pretty much no mistakes from the Mustang driver at the moment. I'm giving him the commentator's curse now, you watch. But sliding his way around the next corner, obviously not too concerned about the tyres now as we come to the end of this particular race. But he's obviously in charge of this championship, 1,200 points. He didn't win anything last time round, but he'll be happy now as he comes into the final corner sideways. A bit of a celebration early on, winning here this evening at race 1 for Hidden Valley. He will be happy with that, ladies and gents. Well done to Wayne Walker. Back on top once again, it seems. Craig Broadbent coming across the start finishing line in the background there as we have a few celebratory donuts there from the leader. And we could have a battle as we come across the start finish line. Hayden Darrow, Stephen White finally making up that gap, but it's not enough. Hayden Darrow will hold on to that 5th place, and Stephen White will have to settle for P6. So great racing there. What a push from Stephen White in that final stage to try and catch up. But that is your racing result, ladies and gents. We have a few cars still coming across the start finishing line. Craig Stoddard still out there on circuit. All the drivers occupying pit straight or start finish straight, doing some donuts to celebrate as he comes through the final corners there. They're all playing in the gravel trap, bless them. Steve Dunn, I'm not too sure if he is still racing or not. He's 1 lap down compared to the rest. I would have believed he would be, but he may have just crossed that start finishing line at the last moment. Daniel Optisano doing donuts in Sector 2, just celebrating in his own way away from the rest of them, but he came home in 3rd place. Very happy with that result. And they are your results, ladies and gents. So let's quickly have a look at the official timetable for you. And once we've done that, we will then have a little chat with our race winners here and see what it's like to win at Hidden Valley Raceway, hopefully. So let's quickly have a look at the results. So Wayne Walker again coming home in 1st place to extend his championship lead. Amazing display of performance. Craig Broadbent coming home in 2nd. He did everything he could, it seemed, to try and match Wayne there, but just wasn't enough. Looked to seem that time was being gained in the traffic, but has to settle for 2nd place. Still a very strong result though. Daniel Optisano not able to catch up to Craig Broadbent. There seemed to be that gap in between all 3 of those guys. Settles for P3. Still a very good result though. Rounds out the podium positions. Mark Young in P4. Had some great battles with Daniel there. He's upped his game for this particular round. And then Hayden Dara coming home in P5. Amazing result for the 53 Holden. Stephen White in P6, followed by Billy Ebenhauser. Still Stephen White, just touching on that, what a comeback that was after receiving that penalty. Jump start at the beginning there, but that is a still amazing result for him. Then we have Billy Ebenhauser and then Brett Gooden in P8. Great racing between those two. Then rounding out the top 10, Paul Robinson and Craig Stoddard for you. We do have the winners in with us now. Wayne Walker, oh no, he's just left unfortunately, so we'll have a speak with Craig Broadbent for a quick moment. Craig, congratulations on 2nd place. Looked a bit tough out there. You tried to match Wayne there, but he just seemed to have the pace today.
Yeah, I struggled today. A lot of things in my R factor aren't working, so got to make do. So I'm pretty happy with that. Daniel was faster than me, Wayne was faster than me, so coming 2nd is yeah, pretty happy.
And how did you find, looking at the start finishing line, there was a lot of rubber on the right hand side of the track. Did you find that helped you in the start of this race? I remember it being a factor at Winton last round. Did that help you this evening?
It always helps. The start was good. Jumped Daniel at the start, which was key to getting 2nd place. So yeah, being on the rubber helps.
And how did you find this circuit? It's a very narrow and small circuit, similar to what we've seen throughout the season. Is this more challenging compared to Winton and other places? I mean, we're talking about 1 minute lap times here. How did you find that?
I don't know if it's more challenging than Winton, but it's really hard to keep your tyres good. They get hot very quickly, they wear out, and then you just got to nurse at home for basically the 2nd half of each stint. So yeah, it's a challenge, big challenge for sure.
What's your plans going into the 2nd race? Of course, I'm sure maximum point potential, but do you think you can get the jump on Wayne this time by? Anything different you're going to try?
Yeah, try and get ahead of him, but yeah, score points is basically what I aim to do on this one.
What's the situation like in terms of slipstream here? We see this long straight coming down. You know, they've got that 1 mile drag strip down there. Do you get a lot of time from that, or is it, you know, is it minimal in terms of how much pace you can make?
If you get a good run onto the straight in the last corner, you can get a good slipstream, but it's really hard to do that, particularly when your tyres start to wear out. Yeah, it's just one of those things, like probably get that last corner right, maybe 1 every 2 times, basically.
Yeah, well, again, you know, it's been amazing racing with you. I'm sure you're happy with 2nd place. Wish you the best of luck for the next round, which just goes live in about 1.5 minutes, and we'll see you on the grid.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Cheers, mate.
Take care. So that was Craig Broadbent coming home 2nd place, so he's going to be very happy with that. So he's very strong results in the last few rounds, obviously taking those 2 wins back at Winton before coming here at Hidden Valley. Unfortunately, we don't have Wayne Walker with us. He was in the event booth while we was going through the results there, but he's obviously decided to get ready for the next race. We've only got 1 minute or so before we go back live to the 2nd round. We'll try and get him for the next one, and we'll talk about the first victory here and congratulate him formally, as is the way. while we're waiting for this to all go ahead, if you do like this race or you are enjoying the V8 Supercar Championship, don't forget to check them out. They've got the website, including their sponsors as well. Of course, Noble Hulls Racing are helping with this evening's event, and Servers Australia are helping us host and bring you this racing to begin with. So very big thanks to those sponsors for helping the series be what it is and allow us to have this great racing this afternoon. 30 seconds before we go over to the next session then. And fingers crossed we will see plenty more overtaking to be had. Wayne Walker's going to be pretty tough to beat though, as we've already seen. He certainly had the pace early on to extend that lead, that is for sure. What we'll just wait to do, or wait to happen, is them to grid up once again. It's a similar race to round 1 here at Hidden Valley, so it's 40 minutes once again, followed by 1 pit stop in between the race. That's for a new set of tyres and for fuel. Those will be looked after. Very delicate indeed at a high-speed circuit. It means high tyre degradation, so very vital to look after those. And as always, commentator from R Factor 2 screaming at everyone to leave the pit lane, which is always wonderful. But we are now lining up onto the grid for the second round of this evening's race, ladies and gents. We'll soon get underway once the teams and drivers enter the grid once more. Will be Wayne Walker occupying front again, Craig Broadbent joining him alongside as usual, and then Daniel Opitano in third. So Craig will be on the dirty side of the track, unfortunately. He said it always helps when you have a bit more grip, especially with all the power going to the rear of these V8s. And we're just now waiting for the countdown to begin, which it does now. Race 2 gets underway. Wayne Walker off to an amazing start as puffs of smoke erupts from those rear tyres as we try to get back underway. Stephen White off to a brilliant start up into P4 already, having started in P6. He finds himself joining in back in third alongside Opitano coming down into turn 1. Daniel tries to fight it along the outside, both still wheel to wheel as they come through sector 1. Through turns 3 and 4 they go, side by side, and Stephen White still has the nose of his White Holden alongside. On the outside line this time for turns 5 as they both try to hammer down. Daniel Opitano onto the power just ever so slightly earlier as he gets back in line. So amazing start there from Stephen White. Mark Young follows behind in P5, having lost that position. Hayden Darrett P6, but amazing stuff there from Stephen, right up into the podium positions, but had to fight for it and back down into P4 there. So great stuff. Wayne Walker still leads, Craig Broadbent still in second place there, and then Daniel Opitano now just ever so slight gap between those two as they come down onto the end of the first lap. Entering the second lap now, so we have a nice train of cars all the way from first to fifth. Mark Young rounding out the back of the pack. Slight gap then to Hayden Darragh, Billy Ebenhauser and the rest of the order. Brett Gooden is still in the mix there, so hopefully we'll see more fighting between these two. Paul Robinson in P9, John Slow and Craig Stoddard there still in the mix. Big moment here for Gigi Azan. Goes slightly sideways, trying around the outside into the hairpin at turn 6. He's actually alongside Alex Daly at the moment, so these two going wheel to wheel at the moment. Gigi Azan has to back out slightly as his nose gets chopped off as Alex cuts down to the racing line. Slight moment there once again for Alex Daly, a bit of a wiggle from the Blacklist Motorsport Holden, and back underway again. Here's the battle for third though. Stephen White and Daniel going wheel to wheel. Has a little peek down the inside there, Stephen. Thinks, can I make this work? No, I'll wait for another opportunity to present itself. 0.3 seconds between these. Of course, it's very important not to fight too much at the early stage of these races because you want to maintain that gap to the next car. It's extremely important indeed. Slipstream will be a huge factor at a race circuit like this. It's all very high speed, only 2 real overtaking opportunities without losing too much time. Craig Stoddard, Alex Daly, Gigi Ezan all in a train of their own from P11 down to 14. Matt Ogg in the background too. He's under pressure from Alex Kiedis. He obviously started very strongly last race, suffered damage after a small incident as he was under blue flag situation, but maybe he can have some pace to make up his mistake. Matt Ogg is the next car in the line as they all come breaking down. Gigi Ezan having a little look once again on Alex Daly. Alex Daly stopped by Craig Stoddard, who's coming through the first corner now. Looks down the outside line, they're side by side at the moment. Nope. Looks like the Mustang had a few ponies more to clear that position just in the nick of time. Great racing down in the mid-pack here. We're still keeping an eye on the top 4 and 5 cars. Don't worry, we'll try and capture as much action as we can as it unfolds. And here goes a move from Alex Daly down on the inside of Craig Stoddard. Gigi Ezan trying to get in on the action too. He's going around the outside, long way round, and he does so. So that's 2 positions taken from Craig there, down into P13 now. Alex Daly up into 11th. Fight for second place coming into play now. Craig Broadbent holding off Daniel Opposano. Things have certainly heated up at the start of this second race. A bit of a moment for Craig. He goes very deep. Daniel's taking advantage. He's down on the inside. They're side by side, fighting for second place now, coming through sector 1. Next will be turn 5. That's the next major braking zone here. Wiggling Mustang as the Race Tech Steel car tries to slow down. Stephen White has seen an opportunity. He goes down alongside Daniel but has to back out. Daniel had a much better exit, and now we have a situation coming into turn 6. All cars now resettle back into position, but that was really good racing from all involved. Wayne Walker is just flying off into the distance as a result of all this infield fighting though. This is not what Craig wants. He doesn't want the pressure, doesn't want to have to deal with cars further behind. He wants to be able to focus on what's ahead of him and just focus on those lap times, but that just isn't happening. Daniel's not allowing him to rest. Mark Young is also in the background, just looking on, hoping for an opportunity. As we pass pit lane, looks like Alex Kiedis has another moment as that Mustang has no rear wing on it, so further issues for the 82 as it's in pit lane. Stephen White now applying pressure to Daniel. He's closer this time by 0.3 seconds as he comes through into braking zone at turn 5. Seems to be stronger in that particular corner. Looked down the inside slightly, was chopped off, no room to make that work. And now into the hairpin of turn 6 once again. You can see the rear of the cars wiggling as they try to plant that power down. Of course, fresh rubber on all of these cars as we're at the start of the second race. 33 minutes still remaining. And an issue for Alex Daly as well. The car we was watching just a few moments ago has gone back down into P14. Gigi Ezan now occupying P11. So something's happened between those 2 cars. Maybe a mistake from Alex, not too sure. But certainly a change in the order outside the top 10. And these 3 are starting to really get slightly heated now. Craig Broadbent still leading this pack of 3. Stephen White bringing up the rear. He's actually making a move. This throws sideways in the white Holden. Went side by side momentarily, but the Holden protested. Went slightly sideways. Managed to hold on to it though, but no overtake to be seen. That's allowed Craig Broadbent a bit of breathing space. 0.7 seconds between him and Daniel now. And of course we still have Mark Young in the background, 2.8 seconds between him and Stephen White. To the next lap then, Daniel still holding on with everything he has, 0.3 seconds between him and Stephen. John Slow and Gigi Izan still at it as well, so this is now for P10. John Slow in trouble as the Java Sim car attaches itself firmly to the back end of that Monster Mustang. And coming through sector 3 now, 0.3 seconds between these two guys. And last lap times are pretty much identical, although the fastest lap is in favour of Gigi Izan, so potentially an overtake coming up here as we come down onto the start finish straight. The slipstream will be in effect. 0.2 seconds, 0.1 second, the gap is closing fast. Is it enough room to make it work though? No, it's not. Just needed that extra few 100 meters to make that pass work, but not enough time unfortunately. Tucks himself back inside, but still firmly on the attack. 0.2 seconds still coming into turn 5. Flames coming out the side of the Mustang as it slows down for the hairpin. You can see Gigi Izan trying to find the grip. He's testing the road, going slightly more left, slightly more right as we these laps unfold. He's just trying to find a bit more pace to make it finally stick, and he will be into the top 10 positions. And we see the big trainer car coming down the road. Alex Kidas, meanwhile, is back out on track, so he hasn't retired his car. And doesn't look like an opportunity for Izan this time by. No, in fact, the gap was much larger this time, so the Mustang must have got a really nice exit out the final corner, although the comeback out of turn 1 seems quite strong. 0.3 seconds. He did close right up to the rear bumper, but fell back once again, so we'll keep an eye on that as best we can. Meanwhile, back up front we still have the three-way fight for second. Craig Broadbent still 0.6 ahead of Daniel in second. Stephen White really applying the pressure to the back end of the number 4 still, as they all enter the final corner. Cars wiggling as they try to get the best momentum. Oh, Gigi Izan has had a moment. He's back down into P12, so we've missed that, whatever's happened. So a bit of an issue there for Java Sim Esports. He's dropped down and has to do all of that work again now. John Slow still in control, it seems, but Steve Dunn has found his way in between the two of them. Mark Young, who was in this fight for second, seems to be dropping back into the claws of Hayden Dara. Billy Ebenhauser also in the mix there in the background as they come across the back end of the screen. But this is a great race between these three, both in the top end of the championship points. Daniel Opitano, it's very important that he overtakes Craig Broadbent because he is a threat to his second place at the moment. There's not a lot of points between them as they come onto the start finish straight. This is a good opportunity now for Daniel. That gap is closing rapidly, and Holden is starting to haul in the orange Mustang, looking to the outside line as Craig defends on the off the tarmac. Oh, bit of a touch there from Stephen White on the rear fender of the number 4. Slight rotation, but manages to hold it just in the nick of time there, so very good save from Daniel, able to keep it all in check. And these guys are all very evenly matched coming across the start finishing line. Lap times for you: Daniel holds the fastest, 1027 again, as the tyres went up to temperature as we approached the midway point already. 1:03.8 from Daniel, 1:04 from Craig, so he is slightly slowing as we get into the end of the first half of this race. Stephen White also on the 1:03.8, so Craig doing everything he can to defend. And that gap to the leader, Wayne Walker, now 5.5 seconds ahead. So of course this is a perfect situation for Wayne and his championship hopes. This is exactly what he wanted to happen. And now we have this great battle on our hands for second place still. But they're all fighting amongst themselves. Daniel looking slightly down the inside, trying to open the door. Slight love tap on the back end of the Mustang as it slows for the apex. Stephen White still firmly in the mix too, having a look for any opportunities. Mark Young, don't forget, still in the fight. He's not immediately on the back end of this group, but he is still a potential threat if any mistakes occur. Just another slight love tap. These guys are really starting to push one another, just trying to find that extra tenth or two, which will be all that's needed to make the move work. In the background you see Mark Young coming under increasing pressure from Hayden in the 53. Billy Ebenhauser still in the mix too, so we've got two three-way battles on our hands here as we come to the end of the first half of the race. Could we see a move here from Daniel? He's looking slightly down onto the inside. Craig covers it off though as he breaks down into turn one. On board with Craig now. Coming down into turn 6. Seems very settled inside the cockpit at the moment. Slight sideways moments from both Holdens giving chase. Of course, they don't have that front end grip that the Mustang enjoys at this stage. And 5 or so minutes before the pit window is opened, or when the guys will need to pit for tyres and fuel. This is great between these three. Of course, in the background there, you still have that battle on our hands, all twitching and following Craig's movements, obtaining that slipstream back down to the racing line. Oh, Daniel looking for a moment here. He goes for it. He decides to really push the Mustang as much as possible. Slightly wide apex there from Craig as a result, but it just wasn't enough. Daniel having a really big moment. The rear tyre touches the grass. The Holden swings around and gets snapped back into order. Daniel down the inside into turn 5. Brave move there from the clean racing driver as he goes down into what is the next braking zone. Stephen White decides to make a move himself. Thinks that you don't like it. Let's see if I can make a move myself. Not able to make it stick though. This is great stuff from all three of these guys. They're going tooth and nail between each other. One just matches the other, and it's just nobody's able to make a move at the moment. Stephen White back into P4 then as they come down into the final corner. Craig Broadbent achieves a small breathing zone, 0.6 seconds between him and Daniel as they come down onto the main straight once again. Stephen White, 0.2 seconds, closing on Daniel now. Is he going to make the move down the inside? That's the question. No, not close enough this time by, waiting for another opportunity. Mark Young still 0.5 seconds ahead of Hayden Darragh. Billy Ebenhauser closing down in the meantime in the background. We're going to have to really juggle things around when things get busy. But just a few more minutes until we enter pit lane. Sideways moments here for Stephen White as he comes into sector 3 once again. Certainly closer this time by 0.3 seconds. The slipstream once again coming into his favour, although Craig Broadbent will be the one at most risk as he doesn't have anyone else to follow. Lap times are firmly in the 1:03s at the moment. Wayne Walker isn't setting an amazing pace compared to the first round. He's doing 1:03.5s, but it's just enough to keep these guys at bay. I mean, they're just fighting amongst themselves, and that's what's really hurting their chance of winning this race. It is spectacular to watch, though. I don't mind it one bit. I don't know about you guys. On board with Daniel now. In the number 4 Holden, coming down once again to sector 3. You can see how aggressively he attacks the curb before coming into the final corner. Craig really struggling to get the Mustang in check, sideways slightly as he tries to hammer the power down, going high in defence on the start finishing line. You can see how quickly the Holden starts to reel in that Mustang as they come down into the braking zone at turn 1. He's going to try it down the inside. He does. He sends it completely down the inside. And Stephen White is looking to take advantage at the same time. Daniel has actually got through. He's got this Holden ahead of the Mustang, and he's firmly in second place. But Craig comes back at him, tries to attack on the inside of turn 5. Stephen White is trying to follow Daniel through, but thinks better of it. Oh, he's actually going to make it move. Yes, he is. He's going to go down the inside of the Mustang. That's 2 positions now for Craig lost. Aggressive stuff from Stephen White. Just thought, I need to follow Daniel through no matter what, and that is now Daniel into second, Stephen White into third as we approach the halfway point. When Walker into pit lane, coming in fairly early, Craig decides to follow. So after that pretty eventful lap, he decides, I'm going to try to overcut or undercut these guys. Daniel obtains the lead by default as Wayne Walker gets his Mustang serviced. And we are now officially at the halfway point of the second race for the evening. 0.3 seconds between our 2 leaders at the moment. Of course, pit lane very busy now. Billy Ebenhauser inside the pits. Mark Young, Steve Dunn. Wayne Walker gets back underway. Not sure what's happening with Alice Kidas there. He seems to be struggling to get back underway. Oh, just decides to yield the position and let him go. It's a bit of a strange way to do it, but there you go. It's done now. Orbitano, is he going to come in this time by? Yes, he is. Stephen White follows. So our race leaders, or our new race leaders, now committing to pit lane for the service one final time. Car goes up on the jacks. In comes Alex Daly. Or Alex Daly going by. I think that's Brett Gooden inside pit lane himself. Now the question is, will Craig Broadbent come back around and retake those positions? That is the $100 question now. He will be wanting to get that second place back. It was an ambitious move from Daniel Patisano to claim that position. Stephen White took full advantage at the same time. Stephen White back underway. Daniel Opatisano back underway. Stephen White has overcut the number 4 inside pit lane. That is a move for position at service. And here comes Craig Broadbent. He's coming down the start finishing line. Will it be enough to take the position away from Stephen White, though? That is the question. No, it's not, but he has overtaken Daniel Opatisano in the process. So he has made at least 1 place back. Finds himself once again in the podium positions. And Stephen White will now need to get those tyres up to temperature as soon as possible. Craig on the inside at turn 5, though. He's already done that. He's had the extra lap in order to warm up those tyres. That compound in its prime condition, its fastest it will be for the next 20 minutes till we get to the checkered flag. And he's used that to his advantage. Great stuff there by Craig. Knew exactly what he needed to do. Those extra tyres now coming into play. Stephen White finds himself in P4. Technically, we still have John Slow out on circuit, as is Paul Robinson. So Stephen will be third once all of the rest of the drivers commit to pit lane. Oh, Hayden Darrow in a moment. at the exit of the final corner. Disastrous there for the 53. He was having such a good afternoon, or good evening, sorry, and it's all gone horribly wrong. Completely missed the braking zone coming into the final corner and got sent off into the gravel. Oh, an issue for Daniel as well. Daniel Opetizano having another problem. He's just come out of pit lane again, so something gone wrong there for the number 4. He was in a great fight for podium position, second place up for grabs, and it's all gone wrong. He hasn't had much luck this season so far either, in the last few rounds. So a P5 at Perth, a few podiums, but he's really looking for those second places in order to keep the fight going for the championship. This will be good news for Craig. He will likely move up into second place in the standings if he can bring this home. And Stephen White giving chase, and the only one that can take that away from him. In the meantime, Wayne Walker still in charge up ahead. 103 is being set by the championship leader. Mark Young, Billy Ebenhauser still going at it as well. These are slightly closer at the moment, 0.2 seconds between these two, so we'll have a close eye on these guys. All cars now having served their pit stops, so we are now reset back to our original positions as per. So Walker, Broadbent, White, and then Young, Ebenhauser giving chase in the meantime, and Brett Gooden in P6. Hayden Dower, of course, he was P5. And now it's all gone wrong, as mentioned earlier, after his gravel visit. Could be an opportunity here for Stephen White. Slipstream really strong at the moment, 0.2 seconds in closing. Coming into the braking zone at turn 1. Craig Broadbent able to brake later though as they enter the first corner, holds him off for the time being. Now what's really important for Craig is he needs to look after this set of tyres. They are vital to keeping that second place podium position from Stephen White now, and it won't be easy because of course the slipstream down the main straight does provide at least 0.2 to 0.3 seconds of extra pace coming across into the next lap, so that is an extremely big advantage in this stage of the race for the guys. They're so competitive with one another, all setting similar lap times, all the teams in fact in the top 3 doing 1:02s. Here comes the look from Stephen White. Down the inside he goes. The Holden has the advantage. The nose alongside. He holds the inside apex line. Craig Broadbent has to opt for the long way round, although that means he will be able to defend for turn 5. Sideways through the kink. Oh, and there's contact between the two of them. The nose was still there alongside. It touches the back end of the Mustang and sends him slightly sideways. Luckily, no major drama occurring from that, but certainly an increase of heart rate between both of those drivers. They must have thought that was game over for a second there. Another opportunity now for Stephen White onto the start finishing line once again. In the slipstream, gap is 0.2 seconds and closing now sub 0.2 seconds. Once again, the same move down the inside. This time the Holden makes a massive lunge into the apex, able to hold it this time. Craig still has slight edge over. No, he's actually been cleared by the Holden this time round. Stephen White moving up into position. Will Craig make the move back down to turn 5? No, he won't. Down into third, really bold move from Stephen White, able to slow the car down sufficiently. Great racing between these two. Fingers crossed it continues all the way to the checkered flag. In the meantime, Mark Young, Billy Ebenhauser going at it too for 4th place. these guys have been really going at it as well, and it's now finally come to a close. We've been watching this one closely at the same time as the leaders fighting as well. So 0.1 second as they come down to the second corner. Billy Ebenhauser a bit rough around the curbing, but manages to hold the Holden in place. Drifting around the last corner. That's not the best way. I don't advise that. If you are going into a slipstream situation, I wouldn't advise drifting into the final corner. He's going to have to reset that particular overtake and wait for another opportunity. Just goes to show how much they're pushing, though. He really wanted to plant the power down as early as possible. Sometimes these V8s bite, and they bite very hard indeed, so very lucky to save that from going into a full spin. We'll have to wait for another opportunity now, though. It's still 0.4 seconds between the two of them. The Java Sim green Holden behind seems a bit more planted coming through the mid-sector, it has to be said. Last lap times 1047, both pretty much on the same lap times it seems. So very evenly matched. Looking at the point situation, Mark Young. I actually can't find him on the standings for some reason, but never mind. I'm sure it'll come up in a short while. Yeah, Mark Young, he's currently in P4, my apologies, 797 points. Billy Ebenhauser, P5, behind with 701 at the start of this evening's event. So certainly one to keep an eye out for. He will be wanting to finish ahead of him for obvious reasons, because he doesn't want that gap to be closed. Stephen White is slowly starting to pull away from Craig Broadbent now. It was a great overtake down on the inside at turn 1. Very long send indeed. Certainly knew exactly how much he could push the Holden without overcutting the corner. And he is now starting to extend that lead. And his car seizing up into turn 1. Not too sure who that was, but oh, it's Alex Kidas, I believe. Yes, it was. Keeps out of the way of Craig Broadbent and Stephen. Good lad. Doesn't want to get involved in taking these guys out. But yes, the gap now up to 1 second between Stephen White and Craig Broadbent. And I don't see that much of a comeback occurring from Craig, unfortunately. The lap times are still respectable. 1033 and 1036 for Craig behind, so he's not that far off the pace. He just needs to find that extra tenth or two and he'll be able to start matching Stephen and stop that gap from coming down. He will have lost the slipstream by now though, 1.4 seconds. Certainly if there is any slipstream, it will be minimal in its effect in helping him regain any lost ground. And Stephen certainly has the pace at this stage. In fact, he's matching the race pace from our leader Wayne, who sits comfortably up the road by 9 seconds. Battle here, Steve Dunn, Daniel Albertizano in P10, so he's recovering from whatever issue he had. Maybe we can ask him post-race as to see what happened to Daniel there. Very bizarre situation. 1 minute he was fighting for a podium, next minute he's now at the back end of the top 10, so very strange indeed. Maybe a pit stop issue, but we'll have to ask. Steve Dunn all side by side now, so Daniel on the throttle nice and early. The Mustang still in the lead though. And the switch on the braking zone into turn 5, still not close enough though. Needs to wait for the entry to turn 6. Gets forced onto the outside. Steve Dunn defending quite nicely here. Goes for try to get the undercut. Not enough space or speed to do so. And we have a three-way battle starting to emerge in P4. Mark Young, Billy and Brett Gooden all starting to close together now. So we'll keep a close eye on that one too as best we can. Great racing here at Hidden Valley. This is really good stuff. These short circuits really do push these cars to the limits and allow for good track-on-track action as Daniel goes down the inside, seizes that front left. As he comes down into the braking zone, Brett Gooden tries to do the switchback, which the Mustang does. He's still side by side at the moment, although the Holden just ever so slightly gains the advantage into the next corner. Steve Dunn looking down the inside at turn 5. Oh, bit of a moment there for the Mustang, goes a bit sideways. Locks up those tyres and gets sent into a half spin, but saves it before it becomes anything worse. Let's go to this battle then further up the road. P4, 5 and 6 extended battle here for those positions. Mark Young leading the pack and Brett Gooden bringing up the rear. 0.7 seconds in the middle is Billy Ebenhauser, and he occupies P5. Now this has been a battle that's been unfolding in the second half of the race for some time now. It seems to be ebbing and flowing. We saw Billy try to make the move on Mark before sending it into a slight spin there. And that's what cost him that time, and he had to press the reset button. Ever since then, seems Brett Gooden is starting to push himself and has regained some ground and finds himself behind in position 2. Last lap time is 1:03.9 for Mark Young, 1:04.2 for Billy there, but he will have the slipstream this time by. Looks like maybe Mark is on a bad lap this time around, and we may have an overtaking situation coming down into the start finish line. The gap now to 0.6 seconds. That's still too big of a gap, I'm afraid. He will have to wait for another opportunity. He really needs to start making sure he doesn't mess up that final corner. That's where all the pace is disappearing, it seems. He can, if he makes sure he masters that final corner, he can start to reel in Mark Young, it seems. Looks like Matt Ogg off in the distance there, unfortunately. And on board with Ebenhauser in the Java Sims cars. He gives chase to Mark Young now, coming through the final sector. Very fast paced here. And yeah, slightly unsettled in that final corner. Looks like Mark Young carries a lot more speed through that final apex. That's where the difference is. That's where he's getting away. 0.6 seconds once again coming down into the final corner. The gap is just too big. Ooh, big moment there for Billy there, coming down into the first braking zone. Seems to be very strong coming into the first corner. That's where he starts to regain some ground and put on the pressure once again to Mark Young. But if he can't stick it onto the back end, he needs to find himself at least 0.2 seconds behind at the end of this lap in order to make a move down the first corner. Be a moment there. No, Mark Young had it well, very nicely under control. I thought for a moment he was going to go into a slight half spin, but that is not the case. He's holding on to that position wonderfully. Billy now 0.3 seconds behind to come down into the first corner once again. Brett Gooden in the meantime is starting to pick up the pace now. 1:04 is being set by the 88 Holden. 3 minutes left in this second race for the evening, so it's all coming into the closing stages now. Stephen White setting the exact same race pace as our leader Wayne Walker, who now has the advantage of 10 seconds, so it's pretty much been kept in check by Stephen after overtaking Craig. Craig himself doing 1:04s, so starting to fade ever so slightly, a tenth or two in the closing stages. Those tyres, remember, will start to get worn for all of the drivers here, so he's still in a very firm P3 though. And the gap to the next car is 11 seconds, which is Mark Young, which we have on screen at the moment. So he won't be too concerned. He'll be coming home with his second podium this evening, and he'll be very happy with that, as he will move up, no doubt, into second place in the championship standings. On board with following Mark Young at the moment, as he tries to hold on to fourth place. It'll be a very strong result here for Peanut Racing if he does so. They're currently sitting in P4 in the championship standings. So another P4 will certainly help him on his way to securing that position for this year. Billy Ebenhauser is in P6. So he'll be looking to overtake to close that gap ever so slightly. Onto the start finishing straight then, 0.4 seconds as we come across the start finish line. Don't believe that's good enough, unfortunately. Billy will have to do something spectacular if he's going to overtake in the closing stages here. Just closes up sub 0.4 seconds, but it's just not enough, unfortunately. Alex Kidas having another moment there on the exit of turn 5. And Billy now quite close as he's been in quite some time. This could be the final lap overtake potentially here. We'll get one more on top of this. Where is our race winner from last time by? He's coming around the next sector, the middle sector at the moment on the next lap with 30 seconds to go. Billy now looking to overtake the slipstream, going sub 2.2 seconds. Billy going down onto the low side of the track. Is he going to make the move down to turn 1? That would have been his opportunity, not able to make it work. Mark Young will hold on into 4th place. And the time is running out. Brett Gooden now starting to get involved too. And Wayne Walker will have to go over to this because he is coming across the start finishing line. Another victory, 2 out of 2 for Hidden Valley Raceway here. And what a race that is for Wayne Walker. Played into his favour from the get-go. The guy started fighting behind and he was able to just drive into the distance. That is another victory for Wayne Walker. Great racing. And Stephen White will come home in 2nd place, and Craig Broadbent in 3rd. Mark Young and his duo of 3 coming into the final corner now. No overtaking being done here, unfortunately. Looks like they really started to push in that final lap, knowing it was the last opportunity. But Mark Young will hold on to P4. Billy Ebenhauser in P5 as they crash into each other in good fashion, in the only way R-Factor2 drivers do. And Brett Gooden will hold on into P6. So great racing there from everyone involved as Wayne Walker celebrates by drifting through the apex of turn 1 in that monstrous V8. Fantastic stuff. Well, ladies and gents, that is our final 2 races here. I think everyone's come across the start finishing line now, so we'll pop over to the results and have a chat with some of the drivers, see what's what, and run through the results with you. And what a great evening of racing we've had here at Hidden Valley. Small circuit always brings the action to the forefront. You gotta love it. There's nothing better really, is there? Especially these Aussie tracks, they always bring us good racing. But let's have a look at the results then. So as already mentioned, we do have a 2nd win here for Wayne Walker. He's done everything he needed to do. Fantastic pace by the defending champion this evening. Stephen White had a great battle with Craig Broadbent and Daniel Optizano. We'll have to see if we can get him in the room, ask what happened to him. And Craig Broadbent, yeah, still a P3. Amazing racing. Good stuff to see them going wheel to wheel with Stephen there. Mark Young in 4th after holding off the Java Sim car, Billy Ebenhauser, and then Brett Gooden in P6. Hayden Darragh in 7th, Paul Robinson in 8th, and then Daniel Obensano finishing off in P9. Not the evening that he was hoping for, unfortunately. Steve Dunn rounds out the top 10 for you. And then moving on to the second page, P11 is occupied by Craig Stoddard, Gigi Izan for Java Sim in P12, John Slow in P13. 14th is Alex Kidas. He qualified really well this evening, but just couldn't bring it together for some reason. Had a few issues, it seems. Alex Daly, P15, sorry, and then Matt Ogg in P16. Those are race results for you. We'll just wait for some of the drivers to pop down and talk to us, and we'll start to close this event down to get some emotions and feelings from them, see how their evening has gone for them. And while we're waiting for them to come and visit us and tell us about their race, if you are enjoying the stream, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It helps these guys out and helps expose their championship. And if you are interested in the Down Under series, feel free to click on the links. They're all in the description for you, and you can find out more about the series. So we're now joined by our winners. Wayne Walker, let's start off with you, because of course that's 2 out of 2. We missed you on the last interviews before the next race, but congratulations. You must be very happy with that.
Yeah, I think tonight couldn't have gone any better to qualify and pole and then 2 race wins. I sort of needed that for the championship after last round having a computer problem, but yeah, no, it was an awesome night.
Yeah, it seemed like you just had the pace. I mean, Craig gave you a chase in the first round, and then you start to pull away. The second race, they all decided to have a massive fight between themselves, and I'm sure that must have been a good sight for you, knowing how fast they are as well.
Yeah, when I saw them sort of battling in the second one, it was a bit of a relief because I was able to pull a bit of a gap. But yeah, both races, it was just get a good start and push as hard as I could without hurting the tyres too much. So yeah.
And how hard was it to keep the tyres in check here? We saw a lot of sliding on from our commentary box up here. Did you see yourself struggling before the first round of pit stops and at the end of the race, or was it able to keep it in check?
No, I think in each stint, probably by about the 10-minute mark, they were starting to go off and get a bit slidey, and yeah, just had to be a bit easier on the throttle and try not to wheel spin too much.
I did see at the end there, though, once you crossed the line, you decided to shred those rear tyres by drifting through turn 1. So clearly still a bit of life in them still, but it was great to see. But congratulations on your 2 victories there.
Thank you.
But yeah, that was Wayne Walker. Fantastic racing there from Wayne. And again, drifting through turn 1 at the end to make sure he uses up all of the grip available, which is always good to see. Stephen White, welcome to the commentary booth, and great racing between you and Craig there. Just walk us through that 3-way battle you had with Daniel, and what was going through your mind since you had the best seat being at the back of those 3 at the start.
Yeah, unfortunately, in race 1, I was in front of them, and I just pegged the start a little bit too early. And last week we had early starts, and this week the delay was a bit longer, and that caught me out. And from then on, it was really just trying to come back through the field as much as I could. And starting P6 in race 2, I just got the perfect launch, and I was challenging Daniel into turn 1, and we went side by side, I think, through 1, 2, and 3, and even up towards the hairpin, I think. And I slotted in behind them, and I knew I was better at controlling my tyres than what they were. So I just kept trying to push them along and push them along and push them along to burn their tyres up. And the good thing was for me, they started to race each other a little bit. So I started to stick my nose in and rub panels with them and show them that I'm here, boys. I'm ready to race for second. And we did that, didn't we, up until the stop for fuel. And then we started to spread out after that. But one thing that Craig did do, he bombed me into turn 3 or turn 4, I think it was, when we came out of fuel. I didn't expect that because I actually had a bit of an advantage on both of them in front. When I was looking at my pros and cons, I actually had a bit of an advantage in there. So well done to Craig to bomb it in there and get past.
Yeah, I have to say that once, especially after the first round of pit stops, how he split the both of you and undercut, it seemed very impressive. And I thought, oh, we're going to have a real good fight on our hands, which it was. But, you seem to be all fighting for this position with tooth and nail. It was really great to watch. So thank you very much for that. It was absolutely brilliant. But you know, what happened? Explain what happened in the first race. Was it just you anticipated and jumped too early, and how did it feel then to try and fight your way back up the order into where you finished at the end of the first round?
Yeah, I got my clutch bite right and got everything set up with my revs for the start. And with last week, we only had the red lights on for a split second before they went out. So I was sort of anticipating that it would be a quick start again. And I'm sitting there, my fingers are just twinkling on the clutch, and unfortunately they let it out just a whisk too early. And then obviously coming back through the field, I'm just thinking to myself, just do the fastest first lap of my life and just get into pit lane. And then after that, it was just about putting a band-aid on the race, wasn't it? And I was a little bit chuffed. I was hoping to finish in the top 10. I didn't expect to get as high up as what I did, because the field tends to spread out a little bit here, and the racing is not, you know, with the tyre deck and everything that the boys have been talking about, plays a big factor. So you got to sort of feel where you want to race somebody, and then you got to save tyres. So that's where I thought it was going to be top 10, but we ended up, I think, top 6.
Yeah, that's what I love about this series, is that you have to pick your moments well. It always seems to be you have to make a sacrifice no matter what you do. It's either time on track or tyre life. So that's what I really am enjoying about this season so far. But thank you very much for that racing. And how are you looking for the rest of the season? You've missed 2 rounds, unfortunately, for this year. Are you looking to attend the next one and beyond, or are you going to have another break?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure yet, Matt. As we sort of talked about earlier this year, I can't do all the rounds on the DSO for a number of the different support categories to the supercars, and I'm still on call for going to Townsville, but it's looking like it's 50-50 at the moment, and I'm on call to go to Tail and Bend as well. So I'm just here to have fun and give it my best to the boys, and you know, when we've got a night that we can shake it up with Wayne, we'll do that. But I'll tell you what, Wayne's drifting. I think he's the Van Giz of our category, isn't he, for drifting?
It definitely seems like he's been practicing his victory dance, that's for sure. But thank you very much for that, Stephen. It's been brilliant. So hopefully we'll see you on the next rounds, but we'll see you on track hopefully. So moving on to Craig Broadbent. So another podium, Craig. That was great racing. Talk us through your start of the race and how it felt for you. You had to hold off those guys for a long time. So what was going through your head at those moments?
I was just trying to be defensive while I could. I knew that those 2 guys had more pace than I did. And once I got in front of Daniel, but he got a pit lane penalty by the look of it, and was chasing Steve and ended up getting around him. And he had an extra lap. I had an extra lap on my tyres, so I knew Steve was going to come back, and I knew I was cooking mine. So I defended while I could, but once the tyres started to go, I just didn't want to push it anymore, and kind of let him go a little bit and see if I could hit with him. But yeah, he was way too quick.
Yeah, it was great racing. So was that a conscious decision to undercut them in hopes you could regain that back? And how did it feel knowing when you rejoined you found them yourself basically sandwiched between the 2 of them?
Yeah, so I knew my tyres were coming up to that pit stop, and I had I called my pit stop early just in case they did get by me, and that was what I was going to do if they did, and they did, and I did. So yeah, it ended up back in front of Steve, but yeah, it was short-lived, unfortunately.
It was still great. It was fantastic racing. Of course, that does mean that you will move up into 2nd place. If I'm not mistaken, I've done some draft points. So how does it feel to be moving up? Of course, Daniel had that issue. It's another position up in the standings there.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Daniel, but yeah, I'm happy to be behind Wayne. He's very, very hard to beat, and you've got to really be on a good night to be able to do it. So yeah, happy 2nd for sure.
And how's the rest of the season looking for you? You feeling confident, like you can potentially throw a few punches at the championship defender now, or what's your kind of approach?
Yeah, well, hopefully I get on top of my issues. I've got no dash, and I can't see how long the race, how far into the race we are, and so I've switched over to looking at the digital display on R Factor, and it's a bit different, and not quite happy with it. Hopefully I get on top of that, and then we'll be quick again. We'll
Just a few
see.
teething issues. Well, you know, congratulations. You've had a great evening. A second and a third place. You know, you can't go. I mean, the pace that Wayne's been putting down, you got to be happy with that. And Stephen, you know, fantastic racing again. But thank you all guys for joining me in the commentary box. Fingers crossed. We'll see you all in the next round and more action to be seen.
Thanks for having us.
All right, take care,
Cheers,
guys.
Matt.
Have a good evening. Take
Yeah.
care.
Thanks, Matt.
So that was all three of our winners. We're going to try and get, if we can, Daniel Pisano in the box if we possibly can. I think he's already logged off, unfortunately, but we'll get him next time. But that is us now done for the evening here at Hidden Valley Raceway. It's been a fantastic evening. Thank you very much, guys, for having us here at CFS. It's always a pleasure. Thank you to our sponsors, Server Australia, for providing such a stable platform for us to go racing on. And of course, Noble Holst as well is the sponsor for this series. So if you do enjoy it, please check them out. Again, all details for the championship in the description below. You can go to their website. There is two leagues, so to speak, if I'm saying that correctly, for the series. So if you are interested in joining, hit them up on their website. They have a Discord server and you can join the action that way. Next round will be 9th of July 2020, Townsville Enduro. So changing things up, this is one of the first endurance race of the season. Different ball game altogether now. It's going to be a long haul. It's not a sprint race. Different approach from the teams and the drivers. So if you do like a slightly more challenging approach to a race like endurance, then definitely come back on that date, because that's when it's all going to go down. That's it all from us here at CFS. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, then please consider giving us a like and subscribe. Follow for more action if you do love us racing. And we're going to be signing off now. So thank you very much for joining us, guys. Take care and good night.